Hey everybody, JT's Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of After the Movie. And this video we're going to be taking a look at the Evil Dead remake. Okay, so this remake came out in 2013, and it was directed by Fede Alvarez. It's the first time where Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell they're not. Sam Raimi isn't directing, he isn't writing, he produced it along with Bruce Campbell. But I think like this remake is actually better than the very first Evil Dead movie. It's nowhere near as good as Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness, but I do think this film is superior to the first Evil Dead movie. More interesting characters, a more interesting kind of setup. I understand like it's kind of like recreating some things from the original, but it takes like the storyline and makes it a little bit more compelling, I'd say, with a more compelling lead. I know it's weird for me to say, but like Ash in the first movie is not the Ash we know today. He's almost like a completely different character. So yeah. So anyways, let's talk about this movie. So a bunch of friends go to a cabin where the Book of the Dead is, and they're going there because the girl named Mia, they're all a bunch of like, you know, Michigan students, which by the way, the movies, like the characters are all from Michigan and stuff. So that's cool and all. But anyways, so Mia herself is going to they're taking her to a cabin to get over her addiction because it's just, you know, it's just too much of a toll on her life. So they go to this cabin, and then like one of them checks downstairs, finds the Book of the Dead, and then he curiously reads from it, and Mia's going crazy because, you know, she's going through withdrawals, and then they summon something evil, and there's a few tweaks in that to like the Evil Dead lore with some of the stuff they do with the book as compared to like with the original. Like the Deadites are still assholes, they're still like, you know, pretty funny, but like this one's a lot more. This is the goriest film I ever saw in theaters. Like nothing comes this like, and it's just relentless. It's in your face. It doesn't give a shit. It is so bloody, it's beautiful. Like, I had a blast with this. So anyways, Mia, like, they're starting to think that, like, her brother is really concerned for her. Like, he doesn't want her to, you know, like, OD and die. And her friends are the same thing. Like, we can't let her leave. She needs to, you know, get over this, you know, addiction. But Mia starts to go, like, too crazy. And she takes a car and she accidentally drives off the road. And she gets, you know, possessed. This is where she starts her possession. And one of the things out in the woods, you know, grabs her. And, like, they do this infamous tree rape scene again. And Jane Levy plays Mia, and she's a really good lead. They kind of, like, what I liked about this movie is they didn't, like, we'll get to that in a second, what I wanted to say. But anyways, so she goes back, she gets possessed into a Deadite, and then from there she's, like, really, like, disturbing, creepy, eerie. Like, she's really good in this movie as a Deadite. It's not, like, necessarily like a more comedic one. It's more of a dark, creepy, bloody, gory, like, spitting shit out her mouth and stuff. Just doing insane, grotesque things and horrible things to people. She's like, why don't you come down to so I can suck your cock, pretty boy, haha. And I'm like, I was laughing my ass off in the theater. Like, when I went to see this movie, there was a huge crowd of us going. We were having the time of our lives. There's some really grotesque scenes, some really hardcore violence. Somebody tries to saw off her arm with like an electric, you know, knife or something, you know, something you like cut like turkeys with or whatever. She tries like, and they're like, cut it, come on, cut it. Like Jane Levy's great in this movie. She plays a great like evil Deadite, and her brother's trying to help her out, and then the Deadites are being assholes, and they unleash this evil, and then eventually, like towards the end of the movie, full spoilers by the way. I mean, they're never going to continue this plot line. All right, maybe they are. Because, like, I'll talk about what they're going to do in a second. But, yeah, so anyways, Mia, like, she gets buried, and then she, like, the brother, like, resuscitates her, so now she's no longer possessed. So he did that to purge her from that, because the only way to save her soul is to purge her in fire, bury her alive, or something like that. So that was kind of his intention. So he saves his sister, but then, like, something evil rises, and then, like, kills her brother and that. Or no, her brother gets killed by someone else who, like, summoned the evil. And then Mia has to fight the last remaining, you know, like Deadite type creature, and she does, and it's such a bloody mess. She loses her arm in that, and it's so gory, it's so ruthless and in your face. It's beautiful. Like this is such a relentless remake, and I really appreciate it. As a straight up horror movie, it is a horror movie. You know, like you would not argue anything else. Like this thing, in your face, bloody, gory, and it's more not like a comedic gore. Like some of it is kind of comedic, like unintentionally funny, or maybe that was the intention. I'm not entirely sure, but it's really relentless and kind of in your face with it, which is what I do appreciate about this film. It's pretty fantastic. So, anyways, afterwards, Mia's, you know, kind of left to do her own thing. Then, you know, the credits roll. You start to hear footage from the original Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2. I can't quite remember. And then after the credits, we get a post-credit scene. Then all of a sudden you hear stuff and you just see Bruce Campbell. He's like groovy, and then he turns and looks at the camera. Now, after this movie was originally, so like Mia's character, what I appreciate about it, like they made her own thing. They didn't try to replicate what they did with Ash. I mean, of course, she, has the chainsaw and like loses her hand in that, but they made her a completely different character who stands out on her own. They didn't just do a simple like gender swap. They took something with this character and made her unique. Like the other characters are fine in the movie. One of the guys who like opens the book initially, like, and summons the Deadites. That dude, I don't know how he kept surviving. He's getting hit with nails, crowbars, and he eventually does succumb to his injuries. But it's kind of ridiculous how much he's able to survive. Her brother's fine, doesn't really stand out, but Mia's the real standout of the movie, and Jane Levy does an excellent job. So like Bruce Campbell shows up in an after credits scene. It's really brief, and he just says groovy, but it was so awesome in the theater. And then, so afterwards, we were hearing rumblings of Sam Raimi coming, like an Evil Dead 2 to the sequel to this remake, what they were going to do. But I also heard Sam Raimi's in that they're like, we're going to do Army of Darkness 2. Then we're going to combine both narratives into one thing. I'm like, oh, so maybe this Evil Dead remake isn't really a remake; it's set in the same universe. So that's what I was thinking. And then after the end of season 2 of Ash vs. Evil Dead, I thought, oh, maybe this is where it ties into the remake. But they still have yet to do so. And cut. Yeah, sorry about that. Sometimes when you're recording, phones rings, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, what I appreciate about it is it does stand out on its own. And they were initially going to tie it in, but then, like, they didn't, which is kind of unfortunate. Maybe they might tie it in. Because I'd like to see Jane Levy back as, Mia. I thought she was a really good lead. But I appreciate this movie for, standing out kind of on its own, just really making a hardcore movie. And, in terms of, like, mainstream horror releases, that's the bloodiest one I've ever seen, and the most in-your-face relentless. And I got to give, kudos to them for that, for releasing it as it was in the theater, because it was pretty awesome. So, anyways, after this, we had to wait a while before Ash vs. Evil Dead came out. There was rumblings of another movie, and I was hearing like that they weren't gonna. I was like, okay, we're gonna make Army of Darkness 2. I was so excited. Then I heard they weren't gonna make it, and I was disappointed again. I'm like, God damn it! I just want another movie with fucking Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and them back at the helm. And then we finally got the announcement that, you know what, this is going to be a TV series, and it's going to be on Starz, and it's going to be uncut, unrated, in your face. At first I was like, TV series? Well, I mean, I am getting more content, but I do kind of want another movie. And Sam Raimi has still said that he'd like to do another movie, but right now they're with a TV series. And you know what? I got the better end of the deal with the TV series, because although I do want to see one of these movies on the big screen with Bruce Campbell headlining it someday. Maybe they'll do Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. That'd be something I'd love to see, but unfortunately I don't think we ever will. But you get the idea. I mean, I would like to see one of those in the theaters. But, the remake is really solid, and I'm glad we got the TV show, which, I'll talk about in a bit, but I just want to get these 4 little videos out in terms of, the Evil Dead movies. And then we'll go episode by episode with Ash vs. Evil Dead, because Ash vs. Evil Dead is like the perfect combination of like Army of Darkness character Ash and Evil Dead 2 gore. So like it's a great hybrid of, it's like the best elements of both, like fused into one, into like a compelling narrative throughout the whole like season. So anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for this review of Evil Dead, and that's the film series. And then years later we finally get like the TV series, and I love the TV show, and you definitely should check that out, and check out these movies too. They're well worth your time. Just in terms of horror series, it's my all-time favorite. So, yeah, not much else to say, but, comment, like, and subscribe. I appreciate the feedback, and let me know in the comments below what you thought of this remake. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? How would you compare it to other horror remakes? I think this is the best horror remake since, like, John Carpenter's The Thing. I'm trying to think of any other ones that kind of come close to it. But, yeah, like, really, really, really solid remake. So, yep. I guess I'll eventually get to talking about Ash vs. Evil Dead. My goal is to get through, like, talking about, like, every episode by the time Season 3 finishes up. And then I'll have reviews of, and then, like, maybe, if, I'll be done talking about each episode, coincidentally, as I'm talking about, like, Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 3, if that makes sense. So, like, be done with Season 1's episode, be done with Season 2's, then start, like, Season 3's, like, in the middle, like, while they're airing stuff. And then be done with it then, and then I still got other videos in that. But you get the idea. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun discussing Evil Dead with me, hopefully in the comments. And go watch Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's airing on Starz. I don't want the show to get canceled. I absolutely love it. Bruce Campbell is one of my all-time favorite actors. go support the show, go watch these movies, and that's all I have to say. If you haven't seen Ash vs. Evil Dead, it's on Netflix right now. It's on Starz. It's on the Starz app. You have to check it out. So, thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.